Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Newsbrowse News broadcast. According to a report by Munition, Mexico's economy minister, Marcelo Ebrard, announced on Tuesday that the Mexican government will formally propose extending the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, for another 16 years. This proposal will be made during a virtual trilateral meeting scheduled for July 1st, which marks the start of the trade pact's joint review process. Ebrard stated that the letter requesting the extension will be signed by Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. He emphasized that the negotiations are highly complex, but reassured that even if any partner country objects to the extension, the agreement will not disappear. Instead, the USMCA would remain in force for at least another 10 years, as no nation has initiated a withdrawal process. Despite previous tariff threats from U.S. President Donald Trump, Ebrard noted that most trade between the U.S. and Mexico remains tariff-free. Mexico is proactively pursuing early talks to reduce market uncertainty and protect its economic interests in an international environment marked by increasingly protectionist U.S. policies. According to a report by the Epoch Times, the Pentagon has informed Congress of a request for an additional $80 billion in emergency funding. This budget is primarily intended to cover the costs of the war with Iran and to replenish depleted U.S. weapons and ammunition stockpiles. The request further escalates the Trump administration's military spending, which already includes a massive $1.5 trillion budget request for the Pentagon. Although Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has been lobbying Capitol Hill, the request faces stiff opposition from congressional Democrats who criticize the high costs of the unauthorized war amid rising domestic living expenses. To break the legislative deadlock, some Senate Republicans are considering packaging the war funding with domestic disaster and agricultural aid. Pentagon leadership has warned that, without these emergency funds, the military could begin running out of operational funding by this summer, forcing cuts to training and other priorities. According to Yonhap News Agency, South Korea will continue its efforts to gain developed market status under the Morgan Stanley Capital International (MSCI) index, despite the global index provider's decision to maintain the country in its emerging market category. On Wednesday, the South Korean Ministry of Finance and Economy announced that it remains committed to implementing planned reforms in its foreign exchange and capital markets, expressing confidence that these steps will eventually lead to South Korea's inclusion among advanced economies. In its annual review, MSCI acknowledged the reform measures announced by South Korean authorities, but cited the limited offshore convertibility of the Korean won and insufficient onshore liquidity during extended trading hours as the primary obstacles preventing reclassification. The ministry added that the government will continue to actively communicate with global investors to address their feedback and incorporate it into future market policies. According to a report by iFung Legion, an American artificial intelligence startup specializing in litigation technology, has filed a lawsuit against the United States government. The legal action was taken after Anthropic, an AI safety and research company, cut off access to its most advanced models, Fable 5 and Mythos 5, to comply with export control regulations imposed by the Trump administration. The directives restrict exporting these advanced models outside the U.S. or providing access to foreign nationals without government permission. Legion, while headquartered in the U.S., relies on a software development team that includes Canadian citizens working in Canada. In its lawsuit, Legion stated that losing access to Fable 5 dealt an immediate, irreparable, and existential blow to its product development and daily operations. The lawsuit names U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick as a defendant. Anthropic has stated it is cooperating with the government to address the situation while supporting national security and U.S. leadership in AI. According to a report by Munition, Cuba has strongly condemned the latest round of sanctions imposed by the United States, targeting 5 Cuban state-owned entities and an extended family member of former President Raul Castro. Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez expressed fierce criticism of the measures on social media, accusing U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio of attempting to tighten the noose around Cuba's economy. Rodriguez stated that the actions constitute collective punishment and a crime against the Cuban people, who have proven resilient in the face of persistent foreign aggression. According to the U.S. State Department, the new sanctions target 3 entities connected to the state-run conglomerate, Grupo de Administración Empresarial S.A., as well as 2 entities in the metallurgical and mining sectors. The Cuban government maintains that these measures are aimed solely at destabilizing the nation's economy and worsening domestic living conditions. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.